Welcome to our story today. Listen carefully, for this tale will take you deep into the heart of the forest, where the whispering trees hold secrets older than time itself. In a small village in Africa, surrounded by thick dark woods, there was a young hunter named Aminu. Aminu was strong, with eyes sharp like a hawk. He knew every trail in the forest, every sound of the animals, every rustle of the leaves. But there was one part of the forest that even Aminu was afraid to go: the whispering trees. Now, the whispering trees were not like other trees. They were old, twisted, and strange. Their branches reached out like arms, and their leaves, their leaves never stopped moving. Even when the wind was still, the villagers would say that at night, if you listened closely, you could hear the trees whisper secrets that could change your life or end it. Aminu had heard these stories since he was a child. His grandmother would tell him, "Aminu, the whispering trees speak to those who are lost, those who seek answers. But beware, my child. The answers they give are not always the ones you want to hear." One night, Aminu was hunting in the forest. The moon was full, casting a silver light through the canopy. He was tracking a deer, moving silently through the underbush. But then, suddenly, he lost his way. The forest around him grew darker and colder. The familiar paths seemed to disappear, swallowed by the dark shadows. He stopped and listened. That's when he heard it. A faint whisper, like someone calling his name. "Aminu, Aminu." His heart pounded in his chest, but he followed the voice. It led him deeper and deeper into the forest until he stood at the edge of the whispering trees. The air was thick with mist, and the trees seemed to sway without wind, their branches creaking and groaning. "Aminu," the voice called again, louder now. He took a deep breath and stepped into the grove. As soon as he entered, the whispering grew louder, filling his ears, wrapping around his mind. They spoke in many voices: men, women, children, all blending together, telling him things he didn't understand. Then one voice stood out, clearer than the rest. "Find the path," it said. "Find the path to the lost village." Aminu felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard tales of a lost village, a place deep within the forest where people had disappeared many years ago. No one knew where it was, or if it even existed. But now, the whispering trees were telling him to find it. He pressed on, guided by the whispers. The trees seemed to move, opening a path just for him. He walked for hours, or maybe it was days. Time seemed to lose all meaning under the thick canopy. Finally, he stumbled upon an old, overgrown trail. The whispers grew more urgent and more frantic. "This way, follow this way," they said. Aminu followed the trail until he reached a clearing. There, in the center, he saw it, the lost village, or what was left of it. Broken huts, collapsed roof, everything covered in vines and moss. It was as if the forest had tried to swallow the village whole. He walked into the village, the whispers now silent. He felt a strange calm, a heavy stillness in the air. He looked around, searching for any sign of life, any clue as to what happened here, and then he saw it. An old wooden carving of a woman standing tall in the center of the village, her eyes wide and fearful, her hands reaching out as if to warn him. He stepped closer to the carvings, his heart pounding as he touched it. The whispers returned, louder and more insistent. "Leave this place, leave now, or be lost forever." Suddenly, the ground beneath him began to shake. The trees around the clearing seemed to close in, their branches reaching down like claws. Aminu turned to run, but the path he had come from was gone, replaced by thick, impenetrable forest. Panic gripped him. He ran in another direction, trying to find a way out, but every path led him back to the center of the village, back to the wooden carving. It was as if the forest itself was toying with him, trapping him in this forgotten place. And then he heard it, a new voice, soft and sad. "Help us," it said. "Please help us." Aminu turned and saw, standing at the edge of the clearing, a group of people, ghostly figures, their eyes hollow, their face pale. They looked at him with desperate eyes, reaching out as if begging for salvation. "We are the lost ones," the voice said, "trapped by the curse of the whispering trees. You must find the talisman. It's the only way to break the curse." Aminu felt a surge of determination. He didn't know these people, but he could feel their pain, their desperation. He nodded and began searching the village, turning every rock, digging through the earth, looking for anything that resembled a talisman. Hours passed, maybe more, and just when he was about to give up, he found it. An old carved stone buried under a pile of leaves, with strange symbols etched into its surface. As he picked it up, the whispers stopped. The forest grew silent, too silent. He raised the talisman, and suddenly, a blinding light burst from the stone, filling the clearing. The ghostly figure screamed, then faded into the light. The ground stopped shaking. The trees stopped moving. The curse had been lifted. Aminu fell to his knees, exhausted but relieved. He had done it. He had freed the lost souls. But just as he was about to catch his breath, he felt a cold hand on his shoulder. He turned around and gasped. It was the woman from the wooden carving, now standing in front of him, her eyes glowing with an eerie light. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice a mix of sorrow and relief. "But you must leave now, before the forest takes you too." Aminu nodded and stood up. He turned to leave, but the woman's grip tightened on his shoulder. "Remember," she said, her voice low and haunting, "the forest never forgets, and it never forgives." He pulled away, running back through the path that had opened once again, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't stop until he was out of the whispering trees, out of the forest, back into the safety of his village. He told the villagers what had happened, but many didn't believe him. They thought it was just a tale, a story to scare the children. But Aminu knew the truth. He knew that the forest was alive, that it held secrets darker than night, and every time he passed the edge of the forest, He could still hear the faint whispers of the tree calling his name. Aminu, Aminu. But Aminu never went back, or did he? And so the whispering trees still stand, waiting, whispering for the next soul to wander in. Thank you for joining us today. Remember, some places are better left untouched, and some secrets are better left untold. Please like, share, and subscribe.